Did you know, Mark, your credit card points and miles can lose value to inflation? Credit card companies often reduce the redemption value of your points and miles. Now imagine a credit card with rewards that can grow in value.
That's right. With the Gemini credit card, you can earn Bitcoin or one of over 50 other cryptos instantly with no annual fee. Every swipe at the store or gas pump earns you instant rewards deposited straight into your account. Plus, sign up now for a $200 Bitcoin bonus to kickstart your rewards.
A Bitcoin bonus. That is what I need in my life. So I guess I have to visit Gemini.com/card today. If you're looking to invest in Bitcoin but don't know where to start, the Gemini credit card makes it easy.
Issued by WebBank. To qualify for the $200 crypto intro bonus, you must spend $3,000 in your first 90 days. Some exclusions to instant rewards apply. This is not investment advice, and trading crypto involves risk. Check Gemini's website for more details on rates and fees.
Here at Blue Apron, we know exactly how hectic school nights can be. That's why we created Assemble and Bake. Delicious one-pan meals that make family dinner simple. Just assemble the pre-chopped ingredients and put the pan in the oven to bake. Then you're free to help out with that last-minute diorama. Shop Assemble and Bake at BlueApron.com. Get 50% off your first 2 orders with code APRON50. Terms and conditions apply. Visit BlueApron.com/terms for more.
Now, the number of people I talked to across the league were like, getting rid of Matt LaFleur is just absolutely insane. Like, he's that good of a coach. And like, if it gets contentious, teams will find out very quickly. They will call and go like, somebody says comes 3 first-round picks, and you're upset about the negotiations. I think anything's possible. I think that's why some teams are thinking there.
Jesus, I would trade Matt LaFleur for 3 first-round picks. Heyo! Welcome to Heed the Call, an NFL podcast. I'm Dan Hanzus, joined by Marc Sessler, Justin Graver on the ones and twos. And because he's family, no need to, be cute about this. James Palmer, right there.
Right at the start.
With us. Welcome back to Heed the Call, buddy. We've missed you. How's life at the Athletic, Philadelphia, Denver, all the things?
Oh, everything's wonderful, boys. I've missed you. I know we've chatted about this. You and I were texting the other day, Daniel. It was wonderful. Everything's good, guys. Everything's good. I think Sean Payton's on edge here in Denver, which is expected with the Bills coming to town and that number 1 seed they have. But everything's good. Steve and I have been rocking. He's coming to Denver Friday night, baby. So we're going to hit the town here at the Mile High City, Steve Smith and I. And we might throw Mike Silver in the mix of that. So, whew. We'll see if we make the game on Saturday.
I did see the Sean Payton clip where he dressed down a reporter suggesting that he basically had no football knowledge at all.
He did. Yeah. It's a kid from the Denver Post. Yeah, is it nice to have Dre Greenlaw back? You can kind of get that linebacker that's attacking downfield against.
Yeah, let's check this out because originally we were going to save this to tee up the Connor Orr.
It's time.
Is going to tell his Sean Payton story because we crossed the 30,000 subscription marker. But now that it's come up, Sean Payton a little bit on edge. The same Sean Payton who way back in August strode up to JP and stuck out that big paw and said, "I love this team, Jimmy."
He was right.
Yeah.
And here we are, the 13-4 Broncos. Yes, let's play that before we get into the coaching carousel.
Sean, having Greenlaw back for this game, his ability to attack downhill in the run game, just how big is that and the timing of it for this one?
You want him to attack downhill? Is that your, what do you know about attacking downhill in the run game? You don't know. All right, that's right. Have him attacking downhill. It's good to have a healthy Dre Greenlaw back in the game. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Totally unnecessary.
I'm a fan of spicy playoff Sean, though. Like, you never know what you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get in his play calling on the field, special teams. We get an onside kick. You can't do that anymore, I guess. But all sorts of special teams Sean is in full effect in postseason Sean.
He just looked at that kid's face at the Denver Post and decided to choose violence, really for no reason.
It's gonna be a pelt in the belt of that young reporter at some point. But the cutting line is after he initially rips him to shreds, and the reporter has to acknowledge, "Yes, I don't know anything about that." He's like, "That's right."
That's
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to make sure this isn't the same reporter that he dressed down a few months ago and then got his name wrong and all that business, right? Like this isn't an ongoing war.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't. Possibly.
But all we care about is that James Palmer, one of the more decorated journalists in the game, and our friend has a good relationship with Peyton, and as a result, you're in good standing in the Denver area. Put it that way.
Yeah, I think so. Enough.
All right, now we don't have to worry about the Denver Broncos and their head coaching situation. But the reason we have James on today as someone that's plugged in. It's time to check in on this coaching carousel. It is wild. It is spinning out of control. I was just on the Bill Barnwell show. Check that out if you want a little extra zuzzer with Billy B. We went through each of the 9 spots. Nine teams. Yeah. So why don't we start with obviously the most recent one here, James, which is Mike Tomlin. We hit it on the emergency pod yesterday. But anything new to report on this side? There is a report out there via ESPN that he's not expected to coach in 26. But I can imagine that other teams are kicking the tires anyway.
Yeah, you can't stop other teams from pursuing. And I think that's the same thing in Green Bay right now until Matt LaFleur puts pen to paper. I think you can't stop other teams from just asking. I do think Mike made that pretty clear. People close to Mike knew that was most likely going to be the outcome, that he wasn't going to leave Pittsburgh and immediately go find another job. This was very similar to the Sean Payton situation. And we always look for like things that have worked or things that have happened in the past to kind of tell us a little bit of what's going on. I look at 2 different things. I know the Sean Payton one is the easy one, and I'd be interested to see if Mike gets into TV. I heard that somewhere. I'm not sure if anybody's talking about it. But like Sean, when I talked to him and after he came back, the things that he learned during that year were very fascinating, like the 30,000 foot view, the other aspects of running an organization. When you're so just tunnel vision on what you're doing, you get a different perspective of the league in that year, and he thinks it really helped him. Does that work for Mike T when he comes to wherever he decides to do after this 2026 season? We'll see. To me, I think there's a massive similarity to Andy Reid. Like, standing ovation, I'm told. Andy got a standing ovation from the players after he departed. To me, that's a massive similarity in terms of the respect that the organization had for you. Both organizations believe there's going to be a ton of success in the next job. Philadelphia thought that the minute Andy Reid walked out the building. But the other part was, in both spots, the message got stale. The consistent winning but not getting there got tiresome. And I think when you look at what happened with Andy and Philly and what Philly did afterwards, to me is the interesting part. I think Howie Roseman's staying. I think Omar Khan's staying. I think that's a similarity. I just think what they look to do next is going to be fascinating because they haven't done this. I mean, since there's been fewer popes compared to head coaches since 1969. So, I mean, like, they haven't done it, but I think they do stick to what they're used to doing, which is younger, somebody that is going to be there for a while. Philly didn't get it right, though, right, with Chip. They tried to go outside the box. I think Pittsburgh does what they usually do.
Yeah, I mean, Art Rooney spoke recently and suggested that he and Tomlin had talked at length and that it was pretty clear that Tomlin was not going to return to coaching this year. And he seems sort of like laser beamed to a television role in that sojourn year to learn about the league and then come back to the right place at the right time. I do wonder if the Steelers would be the one team that would look at Brian Flores because he's very close to Tomlin. Tomlin probably could pave the way for that. He was in Pittsburgh. The players liked him. Like, is that this team that could maybe say this? We don't care about the rest of this business with Brian Flores. He could be our guy. It's just one name that kind of stands out to me.
I think that's a good one. I like that. I would say the Raiders would also be a team, if you look at Tom Brady's history and the Davis family history going, I don't really care what the league thinks. That would be an organization that would go, the Brian Flores stuff doesn't matter to us.
Yeah.
But I think Shula's in the mix. I think Minter would be someone that you would look at as well. I just think, I got a couple names thrown at me from some other candidates, and I was just like, they don't fit what Pittsburgh's looking to do. I think the mold of that guy, youth is a big part of what they're looking for.
The only thing I would push back on that one, Ceci, it makes a lot of sense in a vacuum. The Steelers are one of the Tiffany franchises, right? Tiffany franchise.
Mm.
And I don't know if that organization is the one that ends what might be a fairly clear case of collusion against Brian Flores that's building right now. Whereas the Raiders, absolutely.
Right.
I think Mark Davis and his eternal quest to make daddy proud in the afterlife, I think that's something that that he would jump at that opportunity.
Why would you say
Put
the
it that way.
Steelers did have Brian Flores on their payroll?
They did.
Post-controversy. So
Yeah, it's true. But not in a head coaching role. That's
No.
what I mean. I do like the idea of Mark Davis shouting at Al Davis's tombstone, "Proud of me now, Dad."
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
probably happens weekly.
Do you find it weird, though? Like, give me Mike Tomlin's coaching tree.
He's one of those guys.
That stands out with
guys.
him. There aren't a lot of roots there. There aren't a lot of branches.
No, it's almost like, give me whatever you got, I'll make it work. Like, and people just come there, and he just finds a way to make it work. It's a very interesting way that it has transpired. But I don't think he's done. I would say that. But I was told that, yeah, there was almost a certainty, and I think Art Rooney kind of solidified that and solidified the Rodgers thing.
All right, spin the carousel, Justin. It's creepy here, by the way.
It is. But I like it. Oh.
Let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens. To me, this is clearly the best gig. Like, the Steelers' job is a complete unknown, right? Like, you don't know what you're walking into there. And
That's
just
a
because the
rebuild, in my
last
opinion.
three guys average 20 years each doesn't mean that you're going to get that same rope, and they have to maybe rethink this whole thing in the post-elite mediocrity era, potentially. Whereas the Ravens, locked and loaded with an MVP quarterback, talent on both sides of the ball. What do we hear in JP on the Ravens right now?
I mean, they're going to interview a lot of people. They're going to have a wide open search. That was always kind of the plan. And again, I know we make a lot of similarities between these two situations. John Harbaugh was straight up fired. I mean, like, straight up fired.
To that point, James, not to interrupt, but here is Steve Bisciotti in his press conference this week when asked if John Harbaugh would still be their quarterback, or their head coach, if Tyler Loop makes that kick against the Steelers.
If Tyler Loop makes that field goal, is John Harbaugh still here coaching this team?
For a week.
Yeah, Bisciotti feeling himself in that press
what a
conference.
boss. Sick unbuttoned. He's like just feeling it.
I've never seen a man more confident in his place in life. And I don't know why I don't like it, but maybe I'm a little envious.
I like it. And also, I like that he also just determined, even though we saw Lamar play in that fourth quarter, was like, yeah, we'd be one and done.
Doesn't he kind of look like the bad guy from The Mask? No, just a little sidebar. It was like an Eric Roberts type of vibe to him. Was Eric Roberts in The Mask? It doesn't matter. Go ahead,
No,
James.
it was the guy. What's that guy's name?
You know what I mean? He's like a that guy Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he had tremendous cheek.
An interesting look.
Yeah, very interesting look. So with this job, I would say this. That's about. I had a GM from another building after John Harbaugh was fired. He texted me and was like, "This is the most well-run organization in professional sports." Like, that's high praise coming from someone that is part and high level of another organization that does the exact same thing or attempts to do the exact same thing. If you ask anybody in that building, and I've spent a ton of time there over the years, like, their benefits are through the roof. Their dental insurance is awesome. Like, that's different
hell
with-
yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. There are
that
people.
sassy?
I mean,
What?
there are people that have stayed there solely because, like, they're one of the few teams that still gives a pension. Like, teams don't do that anymore. Like, they just treat their employees so well. And he's one of the few. And we remember that all of these guys have made their billions in a variety of ways. How Steve Bisciotti made his money is kind of directly tied to finding talent, seeking talent, finding it in places other people don't look, and letting it grow and become successful. That's kind of how he made his money. That's not like, Shad Khan creating the universal bumper that Toyota ends up using. So, like, he does have a unique perspective, and he went outside the box, and I think they would do that again. I truly do, when they hired a special teams coordinator in John Harbaugh. But you already have a really good general manager, a really good president. There's always been a collaborative effort in that building. It's going to be the same thing. You have a two-time, MVP. I think Lamar being involved is important to this. I think that's, to me, one of the top prongs of what they're looking for. That person needs a really good relationship with Lamar Jackson. A name that is the easy name to play there is Jesse Minter, because of his ties to both Harbaugh. Some people find it awkward. I don't. I also know that during his time in Baltimore, he had a very good relationship with Lamar for whatever whatever that's worth. Jesse Minter did, even though he was on the other side of the ball. I think this is an outstanding job. And I do think that their ownership has a different look at looking at candidates than the other spots. And I think that's a little bit of an advantage.
It's got to be a little bit of a thorn in the side to think that you had Mike Macdonald in the building just a couple years before you made this titanic move at head coach. I will tell you that back in my youth, and a lost year in Arizona, I worked at endless temp jobs owned by Bisciotti. Like Bisciotti was my boss above my boss above my boss.
How often did you guys talk?
Well, we spoke rarely. I'll leave it at that. But
okay.
By the way, the actor I'm thinking of is Peter Green. He actually passed away in December.
I was just about to say I think he passed. Well, I was going to say
a great
died.
heavy in some memorable 90 films. He was Zed's cop buddy in Pulp Fiction.
That's right.
He was slashed to death with a samurai sword by Bruce Willis's character. He was the bad guy in The Mask. He was also in Under Siege 2: Dark Territory, which always gives bonus points. Listen, James, I'm not afraid to put myself out on Take Island. Under Siege 2: Dark Territory, better than Under Siege 1.
Whoa.
In terms of pure watchability, if you just flip it on.
Did you see the body? I assumed he was dead. Assumption is the mother of all f***ups.
Even with Erika Eleniak in Under Siege 1 popping out of the cake. Okay, there's a pull from 90s.
If you are a man of a certain age, everyone knows exactly the scene that you're speaking of.
Yeah,
James.
very much so. How about this? My brother-in-law was a stuntman on Under Siege. Bam! How about
really?
that? Yeah.
Does he have any horrible Seagal stories? Because that dude was a monster.
They do. I got time to say it.
Yeah,
I was having lunch. My wife and I were having lunch with him and two of his stuntman buddies in Santa Monica several years back, and they were just trading stories. You know, one of those lunches where you're like, I'm just going to be a fly on the wall and just listen to these guys. And the one guy says to me, he goes, "Remember when you got fired off of Under Siege?" And my brother-in-law's buddy goes, "Well, I mean, I was so fed up, I knew I was going to get fired." And I go, "What happened?" He goes, "Well, Steven Seagal doesn't pull his punches. He just punches us in the face for real." And finally, the one guy goes, I was like, "Bro, you got to stop hitting me in the face. Like, I can't take it somewhere." And Seagal goes, "It's got to look real." And so, like, the next take, he hits me in the face like 3 more times, and I just choked him out after the take. And Seagal went to sleep and I left. And the other guy starts talking. He's like, "Yeah, you left because you knew when he came to, you're fired." And he was like, "Yeah, I knew it. So I just got to jump on it and just bolted off set."
This is one of my favorite Hollywood things because I've heard a similar story about Seagal. And I think it might be one of those things that the tall tales that evolve over time, although maybe your friend's buddy or whatever is the true story. But the story I heard is a similar setup. And then this other guy put Seagal in the chokehold. Seagal went to sleep and also shit himself.
Oh, I didn't hear that part, but this is probably the same story. I also did a sit-down interview with Michael Jai White, and I think we all know him, Black Dynamite. He was in a movie with Steven Seagal, and he told me the director intentionally told him that their fight scene would be the last thing filmed, and if he didn't want to hold back, he has every right to. And that was essentially from the director saying, like, you can punch Steven Seagal as many times as you want. This is the last time we're filming.
There is like no shred of an HR department in any of these tall tales.
Nope.
All right, let's get back on track here. Steve Bisciotti, who was not the bad guy in The Mask, also in his press conference said that Eric DaCosta, the GM, texts Lamar Jackson after every head coaching interview, and he's getting opinions.
Big. I like it.
I think that Eric made it clear to Lamar that when we get down here talking to him, I think he's texting Lamar after every interview, whether it's Zoom or in person. And I think he's getting some opinions from Lamar. I said to Lamar last night, when they call me up from Florida, you better get your ass up here too. Because if you want to do the interviewing, these are going to be full-day meetings like they were 18 years ago. And they go from department to department to department, right? So I said to Lamar, you can jump on my plane or find another way to get up there. But if you're that interested, then we're going to get a schedule. He's going to call me up. He's going to offer you the same luxury. And I said, I hope you take it. And he said, yes, sir, I think I will. So we'll find out.
It is cool seeing an owner peak with some level of transparency to his
Yeah, he's not catering to Lamar, and like it feels like a really critical juncture with Lamar Jackson after some of the reporting that came out in the past month or so about maybe he's not as plugged in. He's staying up late at night. He's not getting proper rest. He's missing rando practices that seem to be tracked to illness more than anything else half the time. Like, you got to find a coach that can deal with all that. But I kind of think Bisciotti suddenly jumped into like best owner in the league rankings after that whole press conference. And he kind of looks a little bit like Nick Nolte to me, too, if you take a look at him.
Hopefully not present-day Nick Nolte.
That's People Magazine's most beautiful man alive, 1992.
Well, it's not
Nick
1992
Nolte.
right now. I'm talking about the Nick Nolte,
I don't know.
maybe like the jail photo they had of him.
I don't want to name names, but some people were on Twitter after this press conference were showing their whole ass with their level of ass kissing of the Baltimore Ravens organization. Like, I've never seen anything quite like this in terms of transparency. This is the team that every team should aspire to be. All right, calm down. It was a press conference.
It's a good press
Al
conference.
Davis did that.
Wow, listen, I attended the
No.
John Gruden press conference with the Raiders. Red carpet, entry of red carpet. It was unbelievable. It did not go well, but man, that was a hell of a press conference. I'm not going to lie. That went
Speaking of the Ravens, speaking of John Harbaugh, let's talk about, let's spin the carousel, Justin. This one just feels in the stars for me, the Giants and John Harbaugh, unless Harbaugh has a reason not to want the Giants job. For instance, maybe he doesn't believe in Jackson Dart because, the Giants believe in Jackson Dart. Unless there's an impasse there, I imagine the money's going to be there, the power's going to be there, the prestige of the job's going to be there, and even a roster that Harbaugh can look at and be like, I could turn this thing around. Giants, Harbaugh, done deal, yes or no, JP?
I think if I was betting, I would say that this is the landing spot for John Harbaugh. And you mentioned Jackson Dart. I know when he took his a little bit of time and his agent was making the calls and I think talking to some media members, that was fascinating. He really took a deep look at the quarterback position at every one of the other openings. And I think he placed Fernando Mendoza with the Raiders. That was kind of like what he did with when he was looking at Vegas. But he really seems to like Dart. I think the people in New York seem to want an authoritative figure, a disciplinarian in a sense. That's when they've had some of their success. It seems like they're on a full court press for him. This search has been interesting for a few reasons, but I also want to just state, a lot of people go, can he work with Joe Schoen? The point that I wanted to make when we talked about the Giants and John Harbaugh was, I think there's an arranged marriage in 3 different places that are going very well, whether it's Elliot Wolf and Mike Vrabel, or it's Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson, or the one that stands out to me just because I had some conversations with people there recently, which is Payton & Payton, the law firm of George and Sean. Everybody thought Sean Payton was going to come in and push George Payton right out of there as the acting GM. That relationship has gone unbelievably well, to my understanding. Like, he loves the way that George evaluates talent. Sean and him joke, have a great relationship. They've put together an outstanding roster and managed it financially very, very well. This can work. That's my point. Could it change after a year? Certainly, because he's going to want, to my understanding, say in how the personnel is decided. To some extent, he doesn't want to control all of it, but he wants a say. And if you saw Payton & Payton work, I think there is a chance. You don't want to rule out Joe Schoen being there as a determining factor of why John might not like the job.
It's also tricky, to, as we creep towards February, install an entirely new front office. I mean, teams do it all the time, but it's like teams that are already very lost. The Giants have drafted pretty well. It's like you want to maybe give it a year. You've never heard of Harbaugh having a scuffle inside the building with anyone in Baltimore ever. And I know they had Ozzie Newsome forever. It was a very sturdy setup, but there's no reports of cantankerous power struggles inside the building that get to us.
Well, there was some of that a little bit at the end of Baltimore, right? There was some talk about some dysfunction.
Yeah.
Maybe at the very end, but just over the course of 18 years, that is not the way he operates.
And that's why Steve Bisciotti did have that comment where he's like, 1 week, he had been gathering information very quietly. He doesn't talk to the media. He doesn't talk to anybody. I've talked to people close to Bisciotti that have been like, he wasn't going to tell anyone, but he gathered it from players. He gathered it from other people in the building. He had made his decision on John pretty early.
Sounded like he lost players in that locker room for sure.
I think with Shane, it's going to be a situation where Harbaugh, he knows he has the Giants over a barrel. The Giants are in an interesting place, I feel like, because in addition to not getting the last few head coach hires right, they're desperate for stability. especially given John Mara's illness and the idea that to be able to turn the keys over to somebody like a John Harbaugh, a proven guy, and be like, hey, man, just hold this thing down for us. We're dealing with the stuff. Chris Mara's son is involved, obviously, but I think Joe Shane's not going to get fired here, but Joe Shane is going to have to fall in line or get on the bread line. Maybe not this year, but next year, because I think it's going to be John Harbaugh's show, because I think he has that much leverage in this conversation. He's going to get the money and the power, and we'll see what he does with it. But I love, like, all the talk we had, Mark, about the Giants on the show in the summer. That's where I'm going to be this upcoming summer if the Giants actually land Harbaugh. I think they are well set up to take a big leap with the right leadership. Let's see if they can land the plane on this one.
I'm with you. I mean, he's the Vrabel out there, obviously. But my only question is, you're 63. The Giants fit because I think they just need someone to come in and do this for a big chunk of time. But like, how long is this? It's not a deep future hire, because I think you're getting 3 or 4 years out of this guy. That's my guess.
I do have an interesting take. There are players that are definitely John Harbaugh's favorites. I host a show with one of them. Steve was almost allowed to do, I think, whatever he wanted to do in the building when he was there in Baltimore. And so there is that. And that can rub some other players wrong in the building. And he, like I mentioned, he can be a disciplinarian. Let's remember, they're like the personalities that are in New York, whether it's Malik Neighbors or whether it's, the way Jackson Dart is like, no, I'm going to run my head into this wall. You can't stop me.
Abdul Carter.
Abdul Carter had a lot of red flags coming out of Penn State. This can either work really well or not, honestly, with the way that John Harbaugh is wired. Because there are people that I've talked to around the league that have said, the way John coaches and as long as he's done it, that style isn't really today's NFL. Like, it really isn't. And so I think there might have to be some adapting and changing from John, but also that's one of his strengths. So I'm just saying these are all the things to look at, because John's very good at looking internally at himself and how he might need to change. He might need to change some of his things because of the personalities of those star guys in New York.
All right, let's take a break. And when we get back, more coaching carousel talk.
Why are more women than ever choosing Natural Cycles? The hormone-free, side-effect-free way to take control of your fertility. Natural Cycles is a birth control app that uses your temperature to find your fertile window. It is more than a basic cycle tracking app. Natural Cycles is the only FDA-cleared and CE-marked birth control app, and has helped millions prevent and plan for pregnancy naturally. Save 15% when you sign up today with code RADIO15. Learn more at naturalcycles.com.
All right, we are back. Let's keep rolling. Let's keep the carousel moving here. I don't know, I never trust the carny, but the carnies in this particular amusement park definitely have murdered people.
Little bit of a darker edge to the.
There's a look in the eyes. They all have the look in their eyes of a Ben Johnson type.
Ooh.
Just the
like a doll
crazy
size,
people.
Lifeless eyes. Sorry, that's Quinn. Go ahead.
Like a doll's eyes.
Lifeless eyes.
All right, the Atlanta Falcons. I mentioned Barnwell. He pointed out the Falcons you could always count on the Falcons to do one thing every year that's kind of out of step with the idea of building a successful program. They hired separate search firms to find their head coach and their front office head, and it's going to be Matt Ryan as the president of football. So that's a little weird. Like the things seem a little out of step and out of sync. What could go wrong? Anyway, here is Matt Ryan at his intro presser on Tuesday.
I'm not trying to call plays. I'm not trying to run your offense. I'm not trying to pull Philip Rivers and come back and play. I'm not doing any of those. I think most importantly, I'm trying to get the right person in here.
That was a bit of a false group laughter there, in my opinion.
I kind of laughed. I thought it was kind of funny.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
That was a little
Maybe I'm
corny
just
for
the
me.
basic. Ceci, you're more like a Kinnison type,
Yes, that's
you got
what
an
that's
edge
where
to
I'm
your
going
humor.
That's what I'm going for. Yeah.
All right, James. So Matt Ryan, is he running the show? Is he choosing this head coach? And should we have any level of confidence that Matt Ryan is qualified for this particular task?
Well, I've been to Flowery Branch. I'm not sure how big their biggest boardroom is, but when they all get together, one search firm and another search firm and Matt Ryan and Arthur Blank and people in Atlanta just despise the word collaboration, but man, does Arthur Blank just lean into it the more angry they get with it, because there's a lot of voices that are in this. The Sportsology group, I know they spend some time with some other teams, and the teams I've talked to have really enjoyed what they've done in terms of the guidance that they've given. Just 2 search firms is bizarre. When you come in and you know you're going to be reporting to somebody with no executive experience whatsoever, I know everybody makes the comparison with Matt Ryan or whether it's Tom Brady to the success of John Elway as an executive. I think the part that everybody leaves out is John Elway ran an arena football team and managed like negotiations for major businesses and car dealerships for like a decade prior to sitting into that chair. So very different situation when somebody's coming in as green as Matt Ryan is. I do think this is a much more appealing job than maybe some people give it. I know the quarterback is a little bit in flux. It's an injury-prone Michael Penix, or what do you do with, Kirk Cousins? But the rest of the roster has a lot of talent to it. You have an offensive line, which not all of these places actually have. I think it's why John Harbaugh is considering this one. I would make a connection when you look at these, when you look at Matt Ryan and go, okay, what kind of offense did he play his best football under? It's like kind of a Kyle Shanahan type of, Mike Shanahan type of offense. And Kevin Stefanski runs that style and comes from that world. Like I try to sometimes piece these type of things together. And with that said, I would say after Harbaugh falls and lands in his spot, I would think Kevin would be the next one to go. And maybe Atlanta's the spot for it. But this is just a fascinating look at an 83-year-old just doing everything he can to try to win, a Super Bowl before he joins Damien from The Mask.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like wherever Harbaugh goes, then like Stefanski goes somewhere else quickly after. I mean, they don't have a first-round pick, but I do think for the fact that the last regime was swept out, they built that roster up and fixed that defense to some degree too. It's like if you're a Kevin Stefanski, you don't want to go somewhere with major question marks, or this is a playoff level roster with the right coach. I mean, it's got to be seen as a top 3 attractive location.
Oh yeah, I mean, you also the division that they're in. It's a beautiful division to land in. 9 wins is a decent chance it can get you in the playoffs. 10 wins almost certainly, at least the way it's been the last few years. There is roster talent, the best all around pound for pound player in the league, and Bijan Robinson is on this damn team. They've improved their pass rush. There's players on both sides of the ball. I like this spot. Penix is the big question, right? Like Kirk Cousins is gone most likely. Michael Penix is coming off a year where he got hurt. It's an ACL, and he was a little up and down. I think that factors in as well in terms of whether a head coach, like if you're Kevin Stefanski, typically you only get 2 chances at this, right? Like, would I rather be an OC with the Lions or, pick your team, the Eagles, for a year and then find a job where there's a quarterback that I can trust? Or do you roll the dice with a Penix type? I think that's something a Stefanski or a McDaniel or guys of that ilk need to think about.
But Arthur Blank is a positive.
Yeah, I think he's a great owner. I think it's a good building, but yeah, he's a very good owner.
He's generally patient. I think it's a good organization.
I don't know, what?
I think he's a decent owner.
I've just said every year for the past 5 years, they're doing things that just blow up in their faces because they're counterintuitive to successful organizations. He's the owner.
I mean, Terry Fontenot was there for a long time, and there were some missteps there for sure. But I would say also, this is the only opening that doesn't have a general manager already in place, so you might be able to get a small say in that, and maybe just a directive of what you'd like to work with. That might be a little bit of a feather in the cap of this spot. But the other part is, I was told what your opinion of Michael Penix is as a candidate is a big part of guys' interest in this job. And they're not universal across the board. And the other part I would just say is Penix had I talked to people on that staff, such high expectations for him going into this year, and they didn't really live up to him. They still think he can play, that previous staff, but they thought he was going to be unbelievable, and it didn't go according to plan.
Here's my question, right? Because if you're interviewing for the head coach job of the New York Giants, they're going to say, do you believe in Jackson Dart? How can you make him successful? It's not like, do you think Jackson Dart's our guy? And if you don't believe in Jackson Dart, the Giants are going to be like, shake your hand and say, all right, we're moving on. Is there a conversation with whoever comes in about Penix? Like, should we go and look for another option? Or do they look at Penix the way the Giants look at Dart? And it's like, no, Penix is our guy. how are you going to make it work? I wonder what the tenor of those conversations are. And Matt Ryan comes from the outside, so if he has a big voice, he's the president of football operations. He might not like Penix, and the whole thing
right. What does
shifts
Matt
there.
Ryan think about it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, lose the operations, though. President of football, guys, the entire sport. Come on, get the title right.
What
President
a great
of
title,
football.
dude.
It's awesome. Deserves a
Sick.
scepter. Let's go.
All right. What's going on with Matt LaFleur? Adam Schefter reported on Wednesday morning, the way I would interpret it right now, it's up in the air. Okay, he said that on ESPN Milwaukee. You hearing anything on this, JP?
Yeah, I think that the interesting part with this is there's been rumblings all year. And I think Ed Policy, the new acting president, which is essentially with the Packers, your owner, when you have somebody new in place, there's an unpredictability to it. He didn't extend, Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst at the start of the season with them going into 2026, but he also said he was never going to have a lame duck operation with either one of them. And then when you break precedent, which is what they did, they went all in with Micah Parsons. They drafted a receiver in the first round. They never pushed their chips all in like they did and do things out of their, out of the norm for the Packers. So when those things happen, new voices, and you do things that you've never done before, and then you finish 7th in the NFC again, even after you went and pushed everything into the middle of the table, there's an argument there. Now, the number of people I talked to across the league were like, getting rid of Matt LaFleur is just absolutely insane. Like, he's that good of a coach. Of coaches that have coached 100 games in this league, he's 11th all-time in win percentage. That's his argument for this negotiation, and that's what we're watching. I think we're watching what Ed Policy's number is that he throws out. If you look at the guys at the top that have won Super Bowls, whether it's Sean Payton or whether it's Andy Reid, they're at 19, 20 million a year. These guys that have just gotten hired, some are at 11, 13 million a year. So obviously Matt's better than those guys. So you would say, okay, it should be simple. It's in this range. This is where the number should be. And like, if it gets contentious, I'll just say this, teams will find out very quickly if it gets contentious. And just like with Mike Tomlin, they will call and go like, are you listening on Matt? And I don't know. Ed Policy could be like, well, I don't know. We lost 2 first-round picks for Micah. We could just put Jeff Hafley into the job. A new head coach is already in the building. Yeah, what are you offering? And somebody says comes 3 first-round picks, and you're upset about the negotiations. I think anything's possible. I think that's why some teams are thinking there.
Jesus,
Listen,
I would trade Matt LaFleur for 3 first-round picks.
Tell me this though. Why don't more teams trade for quarterbacks? I mean, trade for head coaches.
I know what you mean. Yeah. I mean, look at the Sean Payton. What's the history? What's the recent history of this where a coach got traded?
There's not a
Mike
lot
Holmgren.
Yeah.
Got traded.
The Jets traded Belichick to the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Arians got moved to Tampa Bay, but the draft picks in each of those, it was a different time, but they were nothing close to Peyton. The Peyton one, outside of Gruden, the Peyton one is by far the biggest bounty.
Yeah.
In recent history, that's a pretty much like out there for like what you get in compensation.
And when I said 3, I mean, I'm just, but like, I'm just saying you'd maybe have to blow their doors off for something to happen. Do I think they think he's a good coach? Certainly. Do I think there's a lot of guys in that locker room that think he's a great coach? Definitely. But he's 3-6 in the postseason. And that's the argument that Ed's going to use in the negotiation. And so I just think if it doesn't go the way it could go in terms of getting this deal done, I think teams will be curious and teams will be the ones that find out organically. It's very similar to the way Lamar's contract negotiations have gone on. Teams find out and get curious.
If this moves to 10 openings, which I don't think I can never recall that many openings, but this, along with Baltimore, maybe this is the best job in the league if it ever became open easily. And yet, let's say you fill it with like a Kevin Stefanski, like, isn't that just Matt LaFleur, like 1B? Like, I don't know who you bring in or what you do, but it's like Matt LaFleur in the regular season, at least, has done everything you could ask and helped build like one of the most intriguing Super Bowl level rosters in the league, and like, be careful with who you replace them with.
But you say Super Bowl rosters. How many Super Bowls have they been to?
Super Bowl level in terms
but
of
how many
like
Super
their
Bowls
potential.
have the Packers been to under Matt LaFleur?
No, they haven't.
There's a restlessness setting in Green Bay. But I think
and I would
also
say this: if you talk to anybody there, Dan, like honestly, sorry to interrupt you, would be the standard is just different there. I hate to say it, but they just have a different standard on what they deem as success. And the part I threw in there is we don't know exactly what Ed Policy thinks of Jeff Hafley. I know there's a lot of people around the league that like him. What if he's blown away by their defensive coordinator? and thinks that's their next head coach. And
they're
then you go,
sitting
okay.
on their Mike McDonald.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, now let's bring in Mike McDaniel as our new OC, or let's bring in Kevin Stefanski as our new offensive coordinator. I think Kevin gets a head coaching job, but you know what I'm saying.
And yeah, I don't know how many first-round picks I'd give up to have Matt LaFleur, but like a little sneaky, underrated subplot of, man, this guy's good at his job. Look at what Malik Willis has done.
Right.
After washing out in Tennessee, an afterthought joins as a backup, and this guy's about to get like starter money as a quarterback
Like
in free
15
agency.
million, 15 to
All right.
18 in that range.
We only have a few minutes left with James because he's a busy man. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to just go through some of the coordinator changes that have happened this week. Stay right there.
What's good, y'all? It's Von Miller, Super Bowl MVP, Sack Master, and now your host of Free Range. This is where NFL meets real talk. Every week, I'm bringing you inside the game, from locker room stories to league-wide headlines. You want football IQ, locker room insight, and real conversations with the people shaping the league? Welcome to Free Range with Von Miller, where nothing is off limits and every down counts. New episodes every Wednesday. Listen and follow Free Range with me, Von Miller, wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, we are back. Let's cycle through some coordinator changes. Let's start in your old hometown of Philadelphia,
hometown,
Mr. Palmer, where, yes, the logical, the expected went down, where Nick Sirianni fired Kevin Patullo as the offensive coordinator. And if you buy into Sessy, the odds and evens side of things, they do this every other year. And then they hit on one, and then they have a big season, and then that guy gets pruned from the tree and becomes a head coach somewhere, and then they blow the next hire. Usually it's Sirianni's responsibility to make a bad hire. I would think now where it's the turn of the front office and Howie Roseman now to hire an offensive coordinator to fix the offense. Is that how you see this playing out, Mark?
I think it'll be collaborative. That would be my guess. I mean, I think this was, for all the fire that Sirianni takes appropriately in many spots, like, this was his very good friend who he had worked with for a long time. And I think it was a step forward for Sirianni to not fight, but to make this decision, which became overt. A lot of the players liked Kevin Patullo, from what I heard. It wasn't just like the guy hitting golf balls into his face in his basement inside the building necessarily. If you could go out, though, let's say like a Mike McDaniel doesn't get a head coaching job, and you could plug in a Mike McDaniel as your OC, it's a great spot for the right OC. I think there's a chance to change, to upgrade, and all these issues of running the same plays over and over, and the quarters going to sleep at a time as an offense. Like, you could make this offense supercharged with the right coordinator, and someone like McDaniel, someone ingenious who's given freedom to ride.
Yeah, freedom to ride. I love that. I don't know how appealing this job is, and I think that's fascinating. I really do. You have a Super Bowl roster. This is a Super Bowl roster, and as Dan makes his arguments, this one won it last year. You have a lot of talent, but you are in a very interesting spot. This, on one hand, as you mentioned, Dan, like, guys get head coaching jobs out of this. But the last guy who did, and Kellen Moore, if you remember 2 years ago, even though they won a Super Bowl, countless times during the season, it was like, what did we bring Kellen Moore in? This looks the same. Like, why doesn't this look refreshing with Kellen Moore's new stuff? You know why? When I talked to people in that building, it was, this is what Kellen Moore can run with Jalen Hurts. That's what you're going to have to deal with. You are hamstrung by the quarterback about what he's limited in doing. Can he win you a Super Bowl? We've seen it. Can he play at a high level on a big stage? We've seen it. But in terms of what he can do in expanding your playbook and what you can do, Kellen Moore needed to pare down a lot of what he wanted to do when he took that job. And do guys want to go and do that? I don't think, and there's people in that building that are asking me this question, is this an appealing job? Like, as appealing as we think it is? I don't think it is. I think there's some top candidates that don't want to touch this job. And that's what makes it fascinating about who they end up hiring and who they end up persuading. Like a McDaniel or a Daboll, like, I don't know if they're interested. I think that's
I'd much rather go to Detroit if they're
Detroit's the
I'd rather
best
go to Detroit.
OC.
I'd rather go to LA. I'd rather go to the Chargers. With Justin Herbert and that young running back, that young tight end, those young receivers,
as long as
when
it's
they're
not
healthy,
January.
If the two best, one of the best tackle combinations in football stay healthy, you do have a decent setup to what you're running there. I just think you might be limited by Jalen Hurts. And listen, that's not me saying that. That's what offensive minds around the NFL think.
Yes,
I would love to see Dan Campbell and Mike McDaniel next to each other on the sideline. That would be Fascinating.
I want to see Mike
That's
with
a
Jahmyr.
buddy cop movie.
I want to see Mike with it's twins. I want to see Mike with Jahmyr Gibbs. Like that would be.
I like poor Mike McDaniel just because the way he carries himself. Like, I'm not saying you did this, James, but like we assume he's like a Danny DeVito type. And wasn't he like a D1 college football player?
He played wide receiver at Yale. Yeah, wide receiver at Yale.
All right. You mentioned the Chargers. Yeah, they fired Greg Roman. Poor old Greg bouncing through the universe. It's just part of the gig. They also canned the O-line coach, Mike Devlin. It's like, Mike, I know we lost our entire line to like serious injuries.
That one was a bit.
This is your fault. It's like, okay, Jim. How you feeling, Jim? You all right? Those jobs are open. Before we say goodbye to you, James, anything in the chamber, any like hot take, anything you're hearing, a whisper, something that the Heed the Call audience needs to know from one of the great insiders of our league?
Oh, I love that. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm fascinated about the Chargers one. If I'm Davis Webb, I'm looking at a lot of different things, and I would not rule him out as still a head coaching candidate at one of these. I know he's 30. I know he's never called plays in the NFL. I know he has blown interviews away in the past and in this cycle. So I think he's the most, like, he's the guy that teams are most curious about because it's like, oh, could this be our guy for the next 15 years? You know what I mean? And still be this young, innovative mind. This is a guy who was a roommate with Patrick Mahomes in college and then also was in the same room as Eli Manning or Josh Allen, like played the position, but also was like a computer whiz, like the analytics side, and being very innovative. He's kind of blocked, obviously, where he's at in Denver with Sean and the way Sean calls plays, and probably will never stop calling plays if he's smart. I just think that's a really intriguing candidate that somebody might go outside the box and go, you know what, like the Raiders, and it's like, this might be our guy.
In that same category, are you hearing anything about Nate Scheelhaus as a guy that's kind of could be that surprise hire as well?
Yeah, it's similar. I think his name's kind of come up with Pittsburgh a little bit just because everybody just thinks
Cleveland's
there'll be a youth movement there. Cleveland's interviewing. And I think Cleveland's going to have to take a swing. I mean, just like a...
He's the Steelers' first known interview request just dropped a few minutes ago.
Scheelhaus.
There you go.
So James, on the Browns front, I was going to ask you just like, I want you just to think, close your eyes for a second, a 2-second answer, their next head coach.
Jim Schwartz.
Oh, shit. That's how we're ending this segment?
No, I do think they need to, I think they've hamstrung themselves, right? Like, Mark, like they're
just interviewing a bunch of really interesting, like, young dudes, but I don't know if it's for... Who knows?
If they interview a bunch of, quote, interesting young dudes and then settle on Jim Schwartz... I'm giving up my season tickets.
You got season tickets to the Dog Pound?
You still have
Absolutely.
them? Like,
yeah, I've
you
been
haven't
selling
given
them at a
yet?
hearty profit. All right, you got to get going, James. Thank you, buddy.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
Love you. Follow James at the Athletic Scoop City podcast. He's also got 89 with Steve Smith. He's all over the place. Follow, subscribe, support a great man. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, boys.
There he goes. James Palmer. Yeah, we can't have Schwartz running the Browns. We just can't.
You know what I think they're doing though? I've been in this mode where I'm digging into a lot of like local Cleveland radio because they're talking Browns and like it's like WFAN Cleveland style. It's nonstop. But I believe they're trying to almost force candidates to accept Jim Schwartz as the defensive coordinator, which is not the worst thing. Like it's worked. But
he's been great.
He's been great. But I just don't like
as a defensive coordinator,
right? But a team that is like at scorched earth level. Like if someone don't lose like the great candidate because of that side issue. Like if you have to say goodbye to Jim Schwartz and for a great young coordinator who can become your head coach, like. I do it. Like we need and I believe they're into new ideas, but it's like I don't like the framework of that.
And can we also know we've been covering this league for a long time. Defensive coordinators, unless it's a Spags or a certain special guys like a Flores or whatever, like year to year, there is a lot can change. And a defense that's dominant one year, you lock them in. Think about your fantasy drafts. Think of it this way. I know most of us, if we're doing it the right way, don't pick a defense till the end of the draft. But you look at the draft, you look at the board and say, oh, these were the 5 best defenses. I'm going to grab one of these and I'll be set. And it's like, no, very, very often the top 5 defenses from one year are totally different the next year. So Jim Schwartz, is as great a job as he's done. Yeah, I wouldn't stop you from going and getting someone who could actually move the organization forward. I mean,
I demand that they do this correctly. Like, this is an edge moment for that fan base, because I've never seen them, as with your fan base, this low, this kind of out of ideas and hope.
Yeah. And by
Jim
the way,
Schwartz
Ceci,
does not bring,
next time you
like,
tell us
bushels
that
of
you're
hope.
not really that invested in the Browns on some level at this point, remember that you just told us you've been scouring local talk radio for the latest.
What triggers me back into interest. It is like a good young coach that makes the organization feel different. You remember,
the
like, when
Stefanski type.
Well, when Mike Pettin went to the Browns, I was
Yes.
like over the moon. And Mike Pettin just retired a couple days ago. Weird.
Did he really?
Yeah.
He's not even that old.
You know, like, not to get off topic, but the one year that he was in between like any coaching job, he just moved to this little island in Ohio and built a cabin and like
Wait, can you have an island in Ohio?
Well, there's a lake region where there's some ritzy little like chain of islands. I'm not saying it's the Florida Keys, but it like he seemed at peace, and then he went back in and did all the rest of the stuff he did. But like, maybe he's set up financially, and
I'm sure he is.
Wants out.
He got what did he? Yeah, he gets all that guaranteed money from the Browns, and he make pretty good dough as a DC too. Anyway, off point. I hope the Browns come out of this cycle with someone that you can be excited about.
Mike McDaniel. They have no quarterback though. Like that's what you just had. There's like key tenets like ownership, quarterback, maybe overall roster. But like,
to my point from earlier, why would you ever, if you're Mike McDaniel, take the Browns job?
Thank you.
When you can, and you can make the case for the Titans job. We haven't talked about the Titans. We should talk about the Titans, Justin. Like, if you're McDaniel, like, okay, it's a risk. It's a team, organization that's been dysfunctional for a while now. But we can get excited about Cam Ward's potential, and he'll be my guy. Like, that's a better job to me. But also another move that a Stefanski or a McDaniel can do is, yes, take one of these top OC positions and then go exactly where you want to go in 27. Like, it's and maybe that's one of the reasons. Like, I didn't agree with the Jets' decision to keep Aaron Glenn. But like, knowing that you're in such a dysfunctional, toxic place that you're not going to be able to get somebody that you really want, I feel like the Browns are in that trap. Like, we fired the guy that we kind of got sick of, but now it's like you have to sell the Cleveland Browns
I think
these candidates.
The Browns are in the toxic category. I think, Justin, Tennessee is it's interesting to see that Kevin Stefanski is eyeing the Titans, that John Harbaugh is. And why? Because I think it's a chance to go in and completely grow that organization, and you might have the quarterback already. I think you do. I like Cam Ward a lot, but it's like they're checking the boxes, and their ownership to me feels a little off the rails, a little strange, and it's a bit of a strange organization, but they're not toxic. And like, there's a lot to like about the Titans. They also have the second most cap room in the league. They've got a full assortment of draft picks. Like, you can get there quicker than people realize in that division.
Yeah, I agree. And apparently, all the reporting from around the league is that candidates are more attracted to the Titans position than the general public might assume. And John Harbaugh, I mean, we all sort of expect him to end up in New York, and maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. He's only doing 3 interviews. Every team with a vacancy wanted to talk to him, and the 3 teams talking to him are the Giants, the Falcons, and the Titans. He wants to talk to the Titans. So I do think it's a more interesting job opening than people would give it credit for. And everyone apparently really likes their first-year GM, now going into his second year, Mike Borgonzi. Real football guy. Jason Garrett said it on that Sunday night pregame show that he really likes Mike Borgonzi. We've heard it from other insiders. So my fingers are crossed for Mike McDaniel. But I do think there's so many good candidates in this cycle, and the Titans are going to get one of the top 4.
I just turned 70 years old. According to Forbes, my net worth is $2.8 billion US. And I'll tell you one thing. We are a priority destination for any head coach. Nashville is hot and steamy this January.
Pool boy, get me another drink. In fact, get me 2.
Yes, one for myself and one for Mr. John Harbaugh.
Apparently she's not taking a real part in these interviews, at least until we get...
It's almost if we nailed that character from the beginning.
I'm going down to the stables. I'm going to visit with my horses. You handle all this dirty business.
Yeah,
those
at least
horses
until
are
we get
strong.
to part 2 of the interview process. She's
I love my
reportedly
stallions.
staying out. All right, I'll stop talking.
Justin's desperately trying to have a serious Titans conversation. But guess what? Check out Vamos Los Titans United, and you can get everything that you need to know about the Tennessee Titans and their organizational standing, their head coach path. Did I get that right? Did I get the plug right there, Justin?
Yeah, Music City Audible podcast. We've done a head coach update pod every day since last Monday. So
I mean,
check
it
out.
feels like overkill, but yes, but maybe some people are into that.
I heard little whispers that James Palmer may appear soon on it.
Trying to make it happen. We'll see what happens.
Oh, Mark, it's not a confirmed booking. I mean,
said
you've been
might.
in this business, you know.
I said might.
Now you put Palmer in a tough spot. I'm going to tell James that you have now said it on the show, which now I'll help you, Justin, because that will essentially lock James into it so he's not a bad guy if he was having thoughts the other way. But at the same time, it's like, Sessler, welcome to the business. What are we doing? We just locked in Palm Jam in a big spot.
I think it's a huge opportunity for James to expand his reach and his following.
All right, what do you need to know if you're a listener of Heed the Call? Listen, you've been treated this week so far. We had the big wild card recap on Sunday night. You had the Monday Night Football and news roundup and a live stream on Monday, then an emergency pod on Tuesday, then this program to get you caught up on the coaching carousel Wednesday, and then tomorrow, Thursday, Connor Orr rejoins us and we preview divisional round football. And then a day of rest, perhaps, Mark, but there are no guarantees.
No, this is that time of year, and I think that we are looking at the shiniest playoffs that I can recall in many years. So our Thursday show is going to be a spicy bomb drop.
Is it true that on Tuesday, when we did the emergency podcast with Shaq, you had flown to Cleveland to do some sniffing around about this Jim Schwartz situation?
No, I was the truth of the matter was I was about 58 minutes away, and you were starting the show in 5. And so, Shaq, thank you very much for stepping in.
All right, we don't want any more details about what you were actually doing because it's better that way. Let the mystery take hold.
We'll leave it at that.
The mist fall over the audience. All right, we'll see you on Thursday. Until next time, do what you must. Heed the call.